Hello, this is Jessica Hartung. I'm a Regis University alumni, and I had intended to share some thoughts with you on April 17th at the Alumni Matrix Meetup. With the outbreak of COVID-19, we're instead having this meetup right here. I'm glad to be with you, and I hope you're doing okay. I know this is a lot of change and challenge for all of us. Amidst this, have you been checking in with yourself about what really matters? I think a lot of people are. You are not alone. We're all looking at how do we prioritize and how do we put our values into action as the world around us changes. This is a time of tumult, and whenever we get to those kinds of times, it's always a good idea to ask ourselves, what really matters? I had that same question when I attended Regis University. At that time, I was just starting my family. I had a 1-year-old, and I had just started a business called Integrated Work. And how to manage the people you rarely see was one of the first courses I taught. I was establishing expertise in this area of remote management at the time. My firm still works exclusively with mission-driven organizations, people who are making the world a better place through their work. And that's one of the things I love about Regis University is the connection between being of service and being successful. So I hope that you are finding great success in both being of service and that you're exploring. I think one of the fundamental questions as we're searching for our ways forward, yes, there are logistic and financial and many other issues, but one of the choices that I'd like to speak to today is the choice about how much we will use this time as a catalyst for our growth. Since we're all navigating uncharted territory, learning new strategies and new approaches seems like a pretty good response to this challenge. So I'd like to share two concepts from The Conscious Professional. This book was published in 2019. I wrote it based on about 50,000 hours of service in relationship to those purpose-driven people who are making a difference in our country and creating a better future for us all. I did a lot of coaching with those folks, and I chose to write the book to put those lessons into an accessible format that anyone can use. So these tools are for work, but they're also for life, for leading from wherever you are. The first thing I'd like to share with you is the concept of a zone of mastery. It's the center of our playing field. It's where we draw our strength from and where we're at our best. But sometimes circumstances require us to move outside of that zone of mastery. And I just would like to show you a graphic to help illustrate this concept, because not all of us are willing to get outside of that zone of mastery. So it's a good time to ask myself, am I willing to stretch not only beyond my zone of mastery, but maybe even beyond my comfort zone? We call that part here the necessary stretch. Circumstances frequently, whether you're in any kind of leadership role or as a student, frequently call for you to stretch outside of your comfort zone. And the reason for that is for growth. Now, if you stretch to the area where you are at your limit, what you find is that you're exploring the developmental edge. And that's the first concept I'd like to share with you, is the developmental edge is where true growth happens, where we expand our playing field. We find ourselves to be capable of things we didn't know we could do. Now that hairy edge, as you see that person's hanging on there, stretching their playing field just a little bigger. That's an intense place to be. And so we work outside on our developmental edge for a while, and then we come back to a zone of comfort or mastery, and then we build our way out to the developmental edge. So you may want to notice, where are your developmental edges right now? It's a good thought experiment to just take a moment and say, are there developmental edges that I want to be working on in this time of change? So actually, even really thinking about that right now, where is your growing edge? Where are you being pushed at a level or seeking actively at a level that is not your zone of comfort, but is asking you to grow new capacities? What else are you capable of? That's a fascinating question, and one that I hope that you will continue to ask yourself. Exploring these questions will lead you to the excitement and power, and sometimes it's a little scary out there on the edge, but that's where real progress happens. The second concept I'd like to introduce you to is how you can get another paycheck from your work. If you have a job, even if you have a job that doesn't pay financially, you can be receiving more paychecks. In the Conscious Professional, I suggest that instead of managing the one paycheck everybody's familiar with, the financial one, there are two other paychecks that you can be managing as well. Let me also show you that. The two other paychecks that I find it so helpful if people work to manage are, yes, we want to manage the financial one. Second, our second paycheck is the satisfaction, the feeling of meaning and purpose, the joy that we get from being well used in our professional lives, even as a volunteer. Maybe we don't receive any financial paycheck, but what we receive is a sense of personal reward, and we are paid, our compensation is in feelings and in emotions. And I encourage you, sometimes actually these days people are taking jobs with lower financial return to have higher second paycheck, right? So you can manage this. But the third paycheck, this is where I'd really like you to leverage. The third paycheck is the abilities, the skills, the new capacities you have, and you can bring with you forever into any job, any situation. So how do you grow your third paycheck? One of the ways I like is to design learning experiments where you're on that developmental edge and you're doing something that is new. Just like I did when I was learning my way forward as a remote employee. I was trying to figure out, how do I make this work? This is back in the 90s. The technology wasn't there, but there are ways. So as you're learning how to make change, you can take that and bring it with you into the other areas of your life. Whatever phase of life you're in, whatever your circumstances, as you learn your way forward and develop yourself as a strategic response to the challenges and changes, that's your third paycheck in action. And you bring those capabilities with you wherever you go. Now, designing a little bit of a learning experiment or even a learning agenda that says, well, what is my edge? What do I want to grow? That is exactly a great place to be in your education and in relationship to the changes and challenges that we're all experiencing. Before I close, I'd like to share my appreciation to all the faculty and staff at Regis working to find creative ways to continue to inspire and equip us for continued learning. My appreciation also goes to you for leading from right where you are. The world needs your leadership. You are helping to define and shape the future. And I'm so grateful to be a resource to you and to support along the way. You can always email me at jessica@workthatmatters and jessica@workthatmatters.com, or visit me at consciousprofessional.com. I intend to continue to share tips and inspiration. I have other pieces that I'd really love to be able to communicate, but I think the easiest way is that Ken Sagendorf at the Center for Innovation has copies of the book signed that are intended to support you in your journey of growing in place. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share these thoughts with you. Feel free to send feedback or ideas or questions my way. I have a column in BizWest where I answer questions, and I'm always looking for a good conundrum to address. So please be well, and thank you.